What's your take on this?
Let the poor breathe.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Squad Academy. Took a week off, but we're back again. I decided I don't know if I started why I took a week off, but we're back again. How you doing?
Just know that they can't take away our wisdom.
No, I'll tell them. But I extracted all my wisdom teeth last week, so I was practically unable to speak. So we had to. And the show, I guess the show could have gone on without me, but I guess Edessa was doing.
It's impossible. It's impossible. Yeah. Do you feel me? So we had to pause. We had to, it's very important.
Yeah, I don't want you guys to see me like that. So my face is back to normal now. I was a little swollen last week, but fully back to normal. I'm talking freely now, so we thank God. But my partner, Edessa, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty good, man. New day. It's summer. So trying to make the most of the summer holiday or the summer feeling.
Dude, what's the temperature over there, man? Dude, like it's been hot for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, correct. The temperature is hot.
It's been hot, man. I thought I liked the summer until this year, man. Jeez.
It's quite depressing. I think the best time of the year is like April, May. After that, everything else is just either too hot, too cold.
I saw a post the other day that was like the Earth is doing a barbecue this year and humans are the meat or something like that. Bro,
Yeah.
we are cooking this summer, bro. I don't know my electricity bill is gonna be this month. I didn't even because my AC is just blowing constantly.
Blowing away, man.
But yeah, it's been like I said, it's been 2 weeks since we last got on this. And of course, a couple of things have happened. But today's will most likely just be like a mostly a conversation dialogue because it seems like the topics that we have for today are not kind of like shaped in that sort of way. But we have like 4 topics that we'll cover today. First one being the rising fuel price. Then we'll gloss over the foreign exchange and the foreign exchange rates, especially since Nigeria floated the naira. Just trying to see where we are today and what's going on with that. Then we'll touch on the Starlink launch in Kenya, and we'll round off with just kind of giving a follow-up on some loan sharks and how the government and CBN is trying to protect consumers within that space. So jumping right into it, Edison, I know this affects you directly because the other day I was thinking about it. Like fuel prices now risen from, I think when May 29th, when Tinubu came to power and he announced that the subsidies would be taken off, I think the next day or so, fuel price like more than doubled, right?
Yep.
And for a while, it was sitting at 540 naira per liter. As of last week, earlier this week, I think July 18th or so, it rose up to 617 naira per liter. Now this directly affects your business. Like you literally have an energy company, right?
Yeah.
What's going on? Tell me, like how you coping during this whole thing, man? And what's going on within this space? And what's your take on this?
Let the poor breathe. According to our so, bro, obviously, like you said, Tinubu election, floor price was like 180, 165, 180. Everybody's calm, we're chilling, we're flexing, we're popping bottles, and Jagaban spoke. Now, diesel prices and floor price is now 680, more than like 3 or 4 times the price 3 or 4 months ago. Imagine that's jump in
this is 80 now.
Yeah, 680, and some parts in the north is even way higher. You get.
Oh, wow.
So it's very scary. Now, before we go too far, let me even start by saying I pride myself as like an economist, capitalist. I'm always forming let free market decide the price. And I was very angry about like subsidy. Like why are we subsidizing cost of petrol? Because reality is the big man that enjoys that subsidy the most, right?
Yeah.
Regular people take bus and that is shared transportation, right? This man takes five cars with convoy and is getting subsidized fuel. So I always felt like subsidy money should be used for like maybe healthcare or something. So we always used to shout, remove subsidy, let's see the real price of petrol. But now, our eyes are seeing something we didn't want to see before. So it's now confusing, and it's a trust game. I think most of Nigerians, funny enough, like literally most of Nigerians as of last year, have started getting used to the idea of government is spending too much. Let's take away subsidy. There's a lot of corruption inside subsidy. Let's see the real price. But now, we're not complaining about that. We're more saying, guy, I don't trust you. That's what we're saying. Because we're not saying, guy, is this the real price? You guys are now trying to over gain from your exposure. So that's really what the question is about. And it's more of a trust. It's a trust fight, and that's why it's more painful and annoying. But we don't know. Well, I mean, what used to happen before was NNPC was the sole importer of petrol. Every government in every country realizes that energy is very security sensitive. If you don't have energy in your country, as petrol, diesel, whatever, it's very risky. So they say, you know what, let NNPC be the sole importer, because NNPC is government, they have money, let them import. Now, NNPC imports XYZ liters of petrol every day into the country. They show the government that, look, for example, we paid $100 million for these shipments, but you're telling us to go and sell it to the market for like $70 million, you get, or even $50 million, right? So government give us that balance, so that we don't make a loss. And apparently, the CEO of NNPC was saying that, look, for the past 1 year, government has been giving us audio payments. The government doesn't telling them, hold this one, meaning just in writing that I owe you. So something as simple as that. So NNPC has literally be spending and losing money significantly. So they've only been getting that money back in paper.
Themselves.
Sorry?
So they've been self-subsidizing this whole time.
I swear, like government did a fast one on them. Like, yeah, hold it, I'm coming. So it's very dangerous, very risky. And what people don't know is that NNPC has many joint venture agreements with many oil field operators. So if you are drilling oil, marginal guy, whatever, your partner is NNPC. Chevron's partner in Nigeria is NNPC. So they have an agreement in every oil field that, look, I bring up $1 million, you bring up the balance. So every new project that goes into drilling, they're meant to like fund it maybe 45, 55, I can't remember the ratio. But every year, NNPC is meant to participate. And so NNPC has been doing the same thing to those guys like, hey, Chevron, I beg, fund it, I'm coming. Because I'm pressed somewhere else. So the government owing them made them, not do that part with the drilling guys, and that reduces our cost of production, or at least affects the oil field operators and makes the oil and gas sector look very ugly. So you see how one statement and one default just has a catalytic effect across the country. Now, the poor man, everybody, the people in Nigeria, we don't care about all this big story. Our cocoa is that, guy, I went to go and buy fuel and it was 680. They didn't ask me for my tribe, for my political card, nothing. They told me 680. It's crazy. And because of that, again, public transport, which is a significant part of our economy, right? We start increasing the price, and there's something about Nigerians. I think I've put this on Instagram before. When something increases by 10 naira, 20 naira, right? And that makes it maybe a 3% increase. The freaking end user, like I bought shawarma one time, price for delivery was 1,000 naira. Fuel price increased before, this was back then, by 3%. You might just say, okay, start the new delivery price is 1.5. Yeah, like 1,500. I'm like, like how? So they just round up for simple mathematics. They don't want to tell you 1,020 naira. Say 1,500, and that just increases again our inflation to gallop, right? But to sum it up, as a business owner, as a citizen, your pocket is now being strained because every income you have now, you're now spending more on transportation than you used to. You are now spending more on, we'll talk again on inflation in the next topic, but inflation, food inflation also significantly gone up as well. But this has also created an interesting pattern in Nigeria, which I saw this in Ghana before. So when I was in Ghana, take a taxi, the taxi man was very, very picky about like AC, put it to low, he won't drive too much. So the culture of high energy prices changes consumption pattern. You start respecting things, right? But in Nigeria, we used to blast the AC and anything. It's like, how far come here? Okay, I'm coming now. Drive car. You don't want to take Okada. So we used to like burn energy a lot. And I guess we should. We're an energy-rich country, I guess, but even though subsidized. But now, apparently, the roads are empty. Everybody's coming down. Everybody's saying, "You send me Zoom link, send me this." Yeah, so it's really changed our, which is not too bad to some extent. I think we need to rethink our culture of excessive
Yeah.
consumption. Excessive consumption is good, but excessive is questionable. Um, but yeah, it's just I don't know I don't know what else to say. It's just it's hard. Obviously, price is
Yeah.
high. People are suffering. Startups are probably squeezing face with these new prices. And the only caveat I have to say, and I'd like to hear your opinion, is that would government reverse its stance on this? So we know obviously Jonathan tried this, remove subsidy. The current Tinubu and Wari, they were protesting, saying,
Yeah.
no, you bring back subsidy. Now they are removing subsidy. There's now unrest.
It was Buhari though. It was 2016 that they first initiated. It was
No,
2016 that
even before Buhari, Jonathan removed subsidy for like a day, for like 3 days, but like the people protested like mad, like Buhari was protesting like, no, hell no. And he now brought subsidy back, right? I think Buhari tried it as well on paper, but he just gave a rule saying, when I leave, subsidy should be removed. Something like that. Then Tinubu now actually did
it
it.
was floating the currency. He floated the currency in 2016 for a couple of days.
Yeah. So the question is, with the political unrest that may transpire from this, with the loss of some political capital because people are unhappy with you and all of that, would he reverse that policy? And if he does, what's the implication? Right. So just I'm either for or whatever, right? But it's just an interesting
Yeah.
situation in the country. The only positive thing here is that if indeed government has stopped paying this subsidy, right, even though they were just paying audio, it's still good for government's budget. Finally, we're not spending so much on subsidy as a government. Hopefully, we'll now use that money on something else that's more productive. That's just that's my takeaway. But what do you think about that and the proposed 8,000 naira per person to to cool body for this subsidy?
Palliative. I mean, first of all, even if you do that, I don't think anyone will get that money. But if I could get to that, and I actually have a couple of questions for you as well. But I mean, ultimately, I think it's, I mean, I said this before, and I think we should stick to it. I think it's the right decision. You don't need a super smart economist to let you know that with the way we're depleting our foreign reserve on a yearly basis, the amount of money that we spend yearly on fuel subsidies, it's only honestly, like, you don't need a super smart economist to say, like, we need to cut this off, right? I mean, for example, like, looking at numbers, it's about 40 billion or so. We generate about 40 billion or so yearly from whether it's from crude exports, mostly crude exports or whatever it is. And we import about 50 or so billion, right, yearly. So that 10 billion is, I mean, that 10 billion deficit is what we initially pull from the foreign reserve to fund, right? Because it's, and by that I mean because the reserve currency that we use is dollars, right? So when we trade internationally, both export and import, we use the dollars to trade, right? So that $10 billion deficit has been funded by the foreign reserve. And a lot of our funding comes from fuel subsidies as well, because we have to fund the differences. Like I said, you haven't even been NNPC for a while now, so it makes me even question how bad the situation actually is, right? So yes, we're absolutely on the right path. I don't know if the execution is necessarily the best, but we're on the right path, and we all knew this pain was going to be there in the short term. I mean, it's talking about an over 20% increase in the cost of fuel, right? And this is something that it's a necessity. It's not as if it's something you can pick and choose. Everyone needs fuel. So this affects all walks of life, right? All of a sudden now the cost of doing your business has gone up. That would be I mean, and funny things, when these things happen, it's always passed on to the consumer, right? So there's no way a business will swallow this cost.
Absorb it all.
Primary aim of a business is to generate revenue and to pay its employees, right? So they have to pass on this cost to the end users. And I'm sure you're probably doing the same as well in your business. But to your question, yes, we're on the right path. Now, I just don't I just don't know where this ends and how the prices stabilize. That's the one thing that I'm more concerned about, because to a certain degree, the way the prices are moving around, it seems like there's some kind of supply constraints. But that's not the problem. We're importing fuel. I mean, from the report that I read, we have about 32 days of fuel always available in the country, just based on the fact that we're importing. Probably not probably not a supply issue, right? Probably just the way we're marketing here, the marketers who are importing this fuel and how they might be calculating the profit margins and stuff like that, right? Now keep in mind, because at this point, all prices fluctuate a lot, right? So since there's no more subsidy anymore, the prices you see on there are going to be based off the global market, right? So it's going to fluctuate here and then, and at the end of the day, like we'll just have to just rely on whatever the global economy is when it comes to fuel prices. I'm hoping as the Dangote refinery comes online, that some of this thing and they start supplying PMS and refined petroleum to the markets, that we must start seeing at least a more stable set of prices, hopefully. But ultimately we're on the right path. Now, there was the whole thing about the palliatives, the 8,000 naira palliatives that was supposed to be distributed to citizens to ease the pain of this whole, and not just fuel, but just general inflation, right? I don't know, man. When it comes to palliative, I'm not in full support of.
It's basically a scam.
Yeah, it's just scam, man. Because
and it's basically soft vote buying as well.
If there's one thing we've learned, over the past 2-3 years, is the fact that palliatives don't work. They don't work. Like honestly, it only increases inflation. It increases inflation. You can't be printing money and giving to your citizens. What you need to do is create jobs, build infrastructures.
Yeah. It increases inflation and increases corruption, because they don't give it to the citizens. If we couldn't give out Indomie that was already paid for, during COVID, is it 8K we want to give out?
8K want to give
Very
out.
Unlikely.
Is 8K want to give out to people, like, and how do you even facilitate that? We already know majority of the country is not even banked, right? So how do you even facilitate that kind of stuff? So you're talking about like handing a ridiculous amount of cash. And we both know when it comes to this one, man catches the body, the way he will miss, he will just miss. He's not going anywhere. So if there's no way to properly track this money, don't properly track how you're going to execute this stuff, then just don't. Honestly, first of all, let me just make that very clear. I'm not for these palliatives, man. It doesn't, if anything, it only makes the situation worse, because you give people free money. And from what we know, when you give people free money that they haven't worked for, the same enter that pocket, same will go, the same will leave, right? Because it's free money, right? Whatever. That's what, and that's what we know about stimulus in general. I mean, look at what it did to the world economy over the past 2-3 years. People were just getting stimulus up and down. What were they doing? They were not using to actually do growth. People were just buying stuff. Robin Hood became a very, very popular app, right? Retail trading became a very popular thing. Meme stocks, they are just going up, right? So yeah. It doesn't solve anything, man. What we need to do, and my problem with this is, it seems like, I hope this is not the case, but it seems like even the 8,000 are be funded primarily by the loan we get from the IMF or whatever international monetary body, right? So I think $3 billion, like a $3 billion loan from IMF. So I don't know what exactly, but it seems like this might be funded by the loan we get from one of these international monetary bodies, right? And that would be absolutely ridiculous. Like we can't keep squandering money that we get from these people. We need to build infrastructures, right? We need to invest in the economy, because ultimately that's how the GDP grows year over year, right? By the output, pretty much. And like this thing is not rocket science, right? It's not rocket science. If you want your citizens to do better, you have to invest in the economy, because the more revenue generates at the country, the more people, the better people do, because you have to employ people and pay them, right?
Yeah.
So We can. Yeah, we just can't keep squandering the money. Though, like we already spent 73% of our revenue on servicing loans, right? 73% on our revenue spent on servicing loans, right? So we can't keep lending. We can't keep borrowing money and using that to just give out to people.
Giveaway.
It's not going to boost the economy in any way. In the short term, yeah. By short term, I mean like maybe 3, 4, 5 months. Yeah, you see people. You see some level of increased spending. Businesses will enjoy it.
Probably even less, exactly, because as soon as they're giving you that 8K,
8,000.
may even move from from 680 to like 720.
Exactly.
Then that technically disappears in your hand.
Exactly. The only thing palliatives will do, and that way we already know. We can already agree that the palliatives will not reach everybody. But anything palliatives will do for those that are rich is just increase prices. Because as businesses that see money is coming in, let's increase price. And 8K will go like this in Nigeria. It will go like this in Nigeria, man. So there's no point even exploring that avenue. But what do you think? What do you think about this?
The entire thing is funny to me because another aspect we didn't even talk about much is the dollar effect, which again will lead into our next conversation on inflation. But most of the times when NNPC is even importing this petrol, they do a swap agreement with foreign refineries or foreign brokers or foreign traders saying, look, we have crude, I'll give you crude, right? Please give me PMS. That way NNPC is avoiding bringing hard cash. So they're just giving them their own share of the crude oil. I saying, take this crude, give me this. And that is bad for us in two ways. One, it reduces our FX income into the country. So every time we sell crude, we're meant to get hard dollar and be happy. But now we're swapping crude for petrol, which reduces our chance of getting dollars into the country. That's already bad, just because NPC is broke. You get. So now, hopefully, with this whole deregulation, I'm looking forward to a world where many people are importing petrol into the country. So that way, a businessman can say, oh, petrol price is high now. I want to make money. Let me import more. Another person will do that. So once many people are doing that into the country, hopefully, demand and supply will find a new level. And hopefully prices will come down. You get, because what was happening before, bro, was that some vessels allegedly, nobody come for me, like allegedly, vessels will come into the country, like just at the port, right? Everybody's sign on paper that it entered Nigeria, right?
Yeah.
Then, this is international markets, right? So they hear that, okay, Kenya needs petrol. That vessel will turn around, sell it to Kenya. Yeah, but it's already been told as, okay, something that came into Nigeria that we consumed. You get, or even when it enters into Nigeria, enters into our ports, goes into our tankers, right? And from there, it's being smuggled into like Benin Republic, neighboring countries, right? Because we're subsidizing for the.
So they're selling those things twice and getting the subsidies from the government.
Yes, it was such a bonanza. It was such an obvious way of making money. Look at, there was a video on social media about like Okada drivers in Niger protesting the fuel subsidy removal in Nigeria because their cost of fuel has gone up. So we're the dumbest people in West Africa. We're subsidizing the cost of fuel for the whole region. It was so dumb. So now I'm not interested in that we may now really see what the real volume of consumption we have in this country. Like, okay, what are we really consuming in fuel? And that's probably why price is also high, because it's like people are like, okay, if I'm going to pay all this,
because now there's no incentive for you to. There's no incentive for you to, but once you bring it, if you like don't sell it here, you're not getting paid for anything.
Exactly. Crazy. So many people are probably even like, yeah, that's why it's interesting. Once the new market finds itself, right, we'll see who are the people, importing into the country and all that. NPC allegedly is saying that, look, they're no more the sole importer. They've given out licenses to everybody and anybody that wants to import. So hopefully, let's see how the market plays out. Let's see how Dangote refinery plays out as well. But I think it's a good start. Like you said, it could have been implemented better. It's a good start. But now that we're already here, let's finish it properly. I believe.
Absolutely. We have to stick to it. And like I said, the pain is going to be there. We already knew this was going to be there, so we just have to stick to it. It's the right way. And even when you look at the numbers, right? I think we're probably ranked, even without this subsidy, we're probably ranked 23rd. 23rd on the list of fuel prices by nation, right? And think about it, there are over 100 countries in the world, and 617 or whatever places are at number 23. And a lot of the countries above us actually subsidize the fuel. So I know Egypt is around like 200 something naira per liter, but Egypt also heavily subsidizes its fuel. So looking at the global ranking, right, without the subsidies, it actually makes, I mean, when you rank it against other countries, like I said, it actually makes sense, right? Why the cost of fuel that we're seeing right now? Because I mean, like you said, it's all the market forces, right? Playing a part. Because no one, it can't be. The market is pretty much going to dictate what the fuel price is now, and the plan is as time goes on, we'll find that balance and we'll know what exactly things are going to sit. Since the election, since the inauguration, there's been a slew of policies that have come into play that have kind of aided short-term inflation. I'll call it short-term inflation because I think these are things that would cause a rise, increase in cost of goods, but eventually create some kind of stability within the economy. What am I talking about? So, like we were talking about, the removal of this fuel subsidy brought about inflation. The floating the naira, which was the main one, floating the naira, has led to inflation. Now, for most people, I'll just quickly explain this before I pass it on to you. But for most people, they're like, oh, I mean, how does floating naira affect what's going on in Nigeria? We're all making our salary in naira anyways. Blah, blah, blah. So, but funny enough, your president actually said that once upon a time, a couple of years ago. I listened to a video on that. I just said, why Nigeria worried about the dollar rates? That are you not making your salary in naira? But just briefly explain, and you can add on to this if I miss anything. We have to understand that the reserve currency, right, for the world is the dollars, and for a country like Nigeria, and for every country, most countries, right, that deal heavily on a global scale, we all have our currencies pegged to the dollar, right? Kind of like we're talking about right now. Our exchange rate is sitting around 860 naira to the dollar, which is probably like over about a 200% increase since we started to float the naira compared to the peg rate. But the reason why it's important because, like I said, everything we deal with, import, export, is all pegged to the dollar. Right. So and you have to understand that Nigeria is a country that is heavily reliant on importation. Right. The main thing we export, which is probably like 80+% of our annual revenue, is crude. But we import everything down to toothpick, down to pencil that we used to write. Right. We import everything. Right. So when the country decides to float the naira, right, and let the market forces determine what the rates will be, that means that all of a sudden cost of importation increases because now you had the rate that was at 400 and something naira before, which was pegged by the central bank. It's now 800 and something naira. So all of a sudden, those who are importing their goods are now seeing almost twice the cost to import their goods, and that doesn't involve the customs tax and the landing fee and all that kind of stuff that they have to pay at the ports, right? So this is why the dollar rate is really important to a lot of Nigerians because, like I said, a lot of things that we do in the country are tied to importation and stuff like that. So all of a sudden now, when you're going to the supermarket, you want to buy this product, you want to buy this stuff, you want to buy this stuff, and you think, oh, prices are increasing, oh, this and that and that. That's fundamentally that's the reason why you're seeing this kind of stuff because they have to import that stuff, and then as a result, you're seeing that rising price. So now that that's the case, now, what's your take on this? And what do you think we should be expecting in the next year or two as we try to address this?
When people say inflation, when in markets, when value of prices of things have gone up, that means somebody else too is making money. So acting as if it's an invisible person that is enjoying this on the other side. If I tell people today that your state governor is making 70% more than he used to just 3 months ago, just because of inflation, right? People don't talk about that aspect. So what? Once they floated the naira, right, the new exchange rate now officially.
Any taxes or what?
No, in okay, that's a good question. In there's something called FAC, Federal Allocation, whatever. I don't know what the
No,
WS is, and that's literally meaning oil money or federal government's money, right?
just allocating
Yeah,
funds, yeah.
it's basically it's shared amongst all the states every month. So states are most guaranteed credit alerts every month from the federal government, from that daddy, and so again, which makes states lazy. You get, but that's a separate topic. So every month they get guaranteed income from the amount is not guaranteed, but just based on what the government got that month or whatever, they share it among states. If you're an oil producing state, you get slightly more again because it's an oil derivative formula or whatever. But every month they get this money. But where does the federal government itself get that money from? From oil, right? Because federal government's main income, main foreign income is from crude oil sales, right? So they have this dollar, whatever. And before what used to happen is that federal government earns in dollar, then they convert it at the official exchange rate, which was what? Was it 430 or whatever? Very
420.
devalued. Yeah, and they share it to state governors. So now that are using the new official exchange rate, which is now like 780, just that same amount of crude oil sales, right, in naira terms, has doubled, right? So state governors or whatever are earning double what they used to earn like just 2 months ago, right? And no one is talking about that. Everyone is keeping quiet. You get, so now they are flushed with naira. Yes, there's inflation, but now they're flushed with naira. What are they doing? What interesting thing are they using this? Because now obviously this is more than they predicted. Because last year everybody did their budget for this year using 430. Let's not lie, right? At least if you're a government official, use the official exchange rate. Now the exchange rate has doubled, right? And now your income has close to doubled. What are you doing with that new allocation, right? Are you doubling each portion of your expenses? Are you saying, okay, now this money that we didn't expect, let's put it in strategic savings? I think we should be questioning our governors, right? What there's now excess income that you didn't expect. Where is that being allocated to? Like without doing anything, without any policy, as a state governor, your state just earned double like that. And this is why again states are very lazy with doing things that generate IGR, internally generated revenue, as tax and all those things. They're very lazy about that because they just get free money from the federal government. But that aside, inflation is now what, as of June, 22.7%, right?
That
And
way more than that. You know, the official rate is way more than that, but that's the published rate.
yeah, published rate. And it's been
Above
going
inflation,
up
just wrong.
consistently for like 6 months. Probably highest inflation since like 2005. So it's obviously even despite what I said earlier, it's still concerning situation. And we have funny kinds of inflation in Nigeria. Inflation is almost cost to me. Economists always argue, is it demand driven? Is it cost? I think our inflation is cost induced inflation. And I'll tell you why. What people try to do things like maybe interest rates, monetary policy gimmicks to um, to reduce our inflation. I think there's so many low-hanging fruits, infrastructural changes. For example, if I import goods from China to Nigeria, I pay maybe 3K, 4K, $4,000, depending on the weight of the goods for shipping and all of that. Once the goods come to Nigeria, to move it from that Lagos port, from Lagos port to anywhere in Lagos, maybe to Lekki, I'll probably pay, another $4,000. $4,000, to move to Kaduna, maybe another $6,000, whatever. So, and this cost is official cost, settling transport board, settling another transport authority, settling VIO, settling money, all the different funny costs, right? And now that $4,000 goods you bought from China is now worth 8,000 naira in Nigeria. Why? And people say, oh, dollar, dollar. There are other aspects, there are other infrastructural aspects that make our costs so punitive. So now if you're a state governor watching this now, you're thinking, okay, it's true. My people are complaining about inflation. I want to do palliative. Palliative won't solve it. Just maybe fix the gridlocks on your road. Because if delivery man is coming, 20 minutes early or whatever, he doesn't need all those. The business owner doesn't need to embed all those things into the cost again. You've saved your people by fixing that road.
Mm-hmm.
You get, so there's so many things that are affecting our infrastructure that makes our cost end up going high. Besides, because dollar will do what dollar will do. Jeremy Powell, Joe Biden, they will do the best in the best interest. You get, and I think with Japan, there are many Asian countries that have weak currency against the dollar, and they're still thriving, right? So it shouldn't be, and so we have government is very smart. We don't give them credit. They blame external things so easily. Oh, more man, dollar, crude oil price, this, that, God will help us. But like, bro, fix your road. There's so many like low-hanging infrastructural problems that can be solved that will reduce the cost of doing business day to day. and then dollar, all those things will be small variables in our cost and our pricing model.
I agree. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. Even to add on to that, it also drives. I agree that it's heavily cost driven inflation. It's not demand or supply.
Yeah, because we don't have that. We don't have demand here, man. Not demanding.
Yeah, it's not really demand. I mean, yes, we have demand, but it's not as if by inflation is demand driven. Yeah, it's mostly cost driven because then again, like we're such a low producing country, man. Like we import every single thing, right? So the fact that all these monetary policies are I'm trying to have all this change in monetary policies and we're seeing this kind of increase in price just because then again, a lot of the things, like I said, we don't produce anything within the country. So we have to import everything. So it's all the cost of importing all these goods, right? Like I said before, your landing fee or your customs fee or this or that. And because we don't have strong institutions, right? We don't have strong, and funny enough, like not to digress, but like I keep saying, like that's what we actually need to build. Like that's what we need to focus on. Not this election is election. No, like, let's build strong institutions so that no matter who comes in and goes out, we actually have functioning institutions that actually ensure that okay, it's easy to do this kind of business. Okay, you know what? If you're doing okay, you know what? Whoever is going to whoever is taking on this role knows they have to deliver this project, or they have to do this, or if a project is already started, then the person that's taking this next project has to finish that stuff. If it's building this road, you have to finish that road, right? But we need strong institutions, man, that'll make it easy for people to just live and do business. It's not easy to do business in Nigeria, man. It's not easy to do business. So, like you said, if something comes now, you're just taking from this to this. Oh, last month it was 2,000 naira. All of a sudden this month 5,000 naira. And okay, why you went up about that? Well, you now hear news that in Anambra that money are taking your land because there's no kind of institution that'll deal with those people. And all of a sudden now you're trying to settle 2 million, 5 million. That's it. No. So like it's just these different things that
all those costs are embedded. Yeah.
Right, because we don't have the strong institutions to deal with all these people, or to deal with all these different factors. So that's why I keep saying, like, it's definitely cost driven, man. And these are things as much as, and it's mind blowing because I know it's the only place I know that I've been to or worked with that I just know that no matter what happens, somehow you can see 70, 80, 90% profit margin on your business. Somehow you can just see those kind of margins, right? So as annoying as it is, it's still attractive because then again, I've seen as bad as it is, I've seen Nigerians make millionaires, man. Like people who have real financial freedom, right? So
if you do yourself, man. So side with talking about yourself, you know, when the money is oozing, it just try to express something to you guys.
I'm not trying to put him on blast, but I'm actually talking about Edosa. Because we are still working. He doesn't have a job, man. He's an entrepreneur, full entrepreneur. So it just makes you realize that, you know what, like it's a headache that people are willing to live with because they know the upside is really high, right? But at the same time, it could be a lot better by building better institutions.
And I don't want to beat the topic too much, but like it's the hard work, like I said, is building the infrastructure, building the institutions, right? But the easy work, which we always cry about, is all these quick swings. We want dollar to drop quickly, everybody will make money, you know, reduce your price, and overnight your price has gone down. But what did you really do? You get dollar goes up, then overnight your price has gone up. But what did you really do? Anybody celebrates or complains depending on all these rates. Oh, petrol price has gone up, it has gone down. Oh, crude oil has gone up, has gone down. All those things quickly create millionaires and quickly destroy value. But it's nothing. What will make the economy more stable and what is really a lasting contribution to productivity is what you said, is infrastructure and institutions, but it's long term. This ones take time to materialize. So government quickly show the buzzwords. You get, there's a joke that any governor that invests fully on education will lose his re-election. Why? Because if you educate a whole generation, it takes them maybe like 20 years for you to see that investment materialize. So they don't know you, but you get them free education, you get them good school before they won't even know it or they won't be able to vote self before. Yes, it's very, very funny or a sad situation in Nigeria. We look too much at the gimmicks, the quick change factors, but they are real hard work. Like you said, we have to roll up. A generation has to roll up their sleeves and do the work.
Stuff. Yeah. We can move on to the next one. Next one doesn't directly affect Nigeria, but this week, Starlink, which is Elon Musk's, which is under Elon Musk's SpaceX company. The internet provider Starlink actually announced their launch in Kenya. And this just adds to the list of countries that they've provided, that they pretty much added their services to. But yeah, it was an interesting one because I think this is their sixth country in Africa. I think Nigeria was their first country. Then Mozambique, a couple of other countries, pretty much. I'm not really sure, but I think this is the sixth country that are rolling out in Africa. But yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things that happened. I mean, their goal is to keep spreading to pretty much across the world, to areas that have low access to satellite, to internet, and that's really their goal, right? They provide internet to areas that don't necessarily have that reach based off satellites and stuff. But I thought it was an interesting one because not necessarily interesting, but I think it was a good announcement. My only problem with Starlink is just the cost. My problem with Starlink is just the cost. And funny enough, I wouldn't think it might even be subsidized for these African nations, if I'm being honest. But the setup cost is quite high and the monthly fee is even quite high. So for example, I know last year or 2 years ago, we're trying to like change the internet provider in our house in Lagos, right? We actually explored different options, and Starlink was quite pricey. Looking at the price today, not even go back to last year. Looking at the price today for Starlink, right? For Kenya, the setup cost now, and keep in mind the way Starlink operates is quite different to other people, in the sense that they kind of democratize access to internet in some way, right? Like they kind of create this DIY, do yourself kind of method where they send you the dish, they send you the router, they send you everything that you need to set up your own internet in your own backyard, right? And it automatically routes to the satellite, right? And the way the satellite works in orbit is like they have like an array of satellites in the orbit, and their goal is to launch about 40,000 of them in orbit. And how they work is they kind of bounce around each other, bounce signals around each other, and that's what's transmitted to your house, right? And what makes it so good is the fact that those satellites are able to move around, so they're able to like provide internet to anywhere that they really want to provide internet to. Sorry, I got kind of technical there, but that problem is, go back to my point, is they send you like all the things you need to set up your own internet, right? They send you the dish, they send you the router and everything. And that whole package to set up cost about $628, right? We already know for Kenya, that's already a very high setup fee, man. Like, bro. So you automatically you now have you have a very specific target market. Because only a select few people can pay that amount of money out of pocket just to set up internet. Especially when you look at the local providers. For example, now Safaricom, it's probably like the main ones over there. Safaricom is probably one of the big players, right? And the on-setup fee is about $21. Funny enough, the on-setup fee is about $21. So $21 to $628. That's a huge difference. And the monthly fee for Starlink is like $46 for about 20 to 200 megabytes per second, as opposed to Safaricom, which is about $44 or so for 40 megabytes per second internet speed. And this is all unlimited options, by the way. But that just give an idea. And the other players as well. I think Fiber also has. Fiber is another internet player in Kenya. Their own is about $108 for setup fee, and the monthly fee is about $37 for regular speed internet. So you can see what the indigenous players in the market are charging for internet and what Starlink is charging. So it gives an idea that Starlink is targeting a very specific market, at least right now. Maybe in the future, as they grow in scale, they can economies of scale, they can reduce the cost of the setup, right? And more people can have access to it. But the way it's set up right now, I just don't see how they're really trying to solve that access to internet in developing countries, because you also have to think about the fact that there are already local players in this market. So these guys are already getting access to internet. And the areas that you're trying to reach that don't have they don't have the satellite access or whatever are most likely impoverished areas that cannot afford $600 for setup fee for internet. So it just makes me question, okay, if they're watching Kenya, what exactly, who exactly are they going to target? Because the guys that are trying to target already have internet. So I just don't really see how they're really going to gather as much customers. And to be honest, I don't really think they even have that much customers in Nigeria, if I'm being honest. And Nigeria is probably a bigger market for them. But the thing is, same thing in Nigeria, right? We already have internet players. There's Fiber One. There's Main. I think Main One is one. Main One is another one. Now maybe some of these guys use a different kind of technology. Where so a lot of these guys are underground cables. I know Main One is probably the big one that has like underground cables. That run and because there are two different methods, right? There's one that uses satellite, which is what Starlink is using, and there's the other one that where you run underground cables and stuff, which is what Main One uses. And I think they rather on with Portugal or something like that. And that's how the network is being transmitted. But pretty much, there are already indigenous players in this market that already offer internet at way lower prices. So Starlink coming to these markets and providing internet at a much higher price, kind of puts them at a huge disadvantage. But what do you think about this? I don't skip. Do you at this cost points, like, do you really think they have a chance to play in this market? And what's your experience been like when it comes to internet and Wi-Fi in Nigeria? Do you think they're really trying to? Do you really think there's a problem for them to solve? And solving by.
It's very interesting that. Sorry, this is a sideway. Whenever Dapo starts geeking out, on like engineering terms, not satellite bouncing, I zoned. You get, he's an engineer and mathematician. People always forget that actually because he's always here speaking economics with us, but not really engineer. So that part of the festival, I was like, oh, mad, like satellite is bouncing. It's just the price I was looking at. I didn't know how it happened. But I think internet experience in Nigeria has been a bit shitty. Not shitty in the sense of unreliable, because today it can be really good, tomorrow it can be really bad. So you're like, oh, why is this? As a customer, you don't want to know about the complexities. You're like, why is it unpredictable? Why is it that when I buy a new one, they're very good the first 2 weeks, then God knows what? Why is it that unlimited is a fake word in Nigeria? You get? So that's why I think in terms of quality of service delivered, I think there's room for a competition. In terms of price, I think Starlink is obviously coming in premium. They're trying to be more expensive than maybe the MTNs and the Main One. The Main One was acquired by a US company, Equinox, which I think was a good exit in Nigeria. So technically, Equinox is now basically another global player by virtue of Main One in Nigeria. I heard Facebook wanted to do underground cables as well. So some crazy, interesting things. But so I think it's clear there's service is poor or unreliable, and the market is quite big. So the other competitors want to enter that market. On the other arm, I guess Starlink is playing the long game by pricing it expensive, but maybe they're not even in a hurry to like dominate. So they just want to like, hey, our price is our price. But what's even more interesting to me in this whole thing is, why is Starlink in Nigeria or in Kenya, right? Whenever a foreign company comes to Africa, like a Walmart or whatever, or KFC, I always watch their movement. Like, what country did they choose first, second, third? Like when Uber came, it was very interesting. Even in Nigeria, what cities did they choose? Because these countries, they do crazy due diligence, pay crazy consultants. So if it's for them to select a country first, that's already signaling many things about that country. And I always talk about Egypt. So it was very interesting for me just watching Starlink's choices in Africa. And I think we should all watch that as well. Always watch what foreign companies are picking whenever they want to get African exposure. What countries do they pick? So that was interesting to me because Starlink has like 1 million customers, then 54 countries. So technically, they are probably even more exposed to Africa than many other multinational companies. So meaning that it looks like an African bias. There looks like a deliberate push to be in Africa. Many other companies, they do that after they've dominated the whole world. They're like, okay, let me enter Africa. You get, but Starlink from the onset, he's really, and Tesla didn't do that, let's be frank. SpaceX, I don't know how SpaceX do that. But you get, so it's very interesting what the angle here is. I think there's something deeper, right? On the bad side, it could be maybe Starlink is bad for maybe the scene or whatever. a conspiracy, and maybe that African government are the only one giving him permission. That's one of the extremes that I highly doubt. But on the positive side, maybe it's just looking at it that okay, these guys are the most underrepresented as far as access to internet. Like you said, the selling point is that Starlink can work in rural areas, everything. So just saying, look, person that will benefit more from this is like Africans. So, but on a very, very high level, and I charge our listeners to that and our Elon Musk experts in the house, that there's a very big bet here. What do you think about it?
I'm not an Elon expert. I'm just like technology. Let's make that very clear. Man. People start thinking I'm not an Elon Musk fanboy. I'm not an Elon Musk fanboy. Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think it's something that we should look into as well. As far as, like you said, these companies pay millions and millions of dollars to consultants, right? To create, I mean, to come up with strategies on how they want to expand and stuff, right? So the fact that they picked Nigeria as the first country, it's kind of like a no-brainer. I mean, most people want to go to Nigeria. I mean, we have our internet penetration is kind of below 50%. And we have a very huge population. So just a huge market that's there to be tapped into, right? So
yeah,
I'm not necessarily surprised, but at the same time, there are also a lot of other nations that have similar population that also have low internet penetration as well. So why didn't you pick those countries?
Like Mozambique was in the list. You know, Kenya is a bit obvious, but like, so it's very interesting. And I wonder if it's maybe the African government went to lobby actively or whether it was the other way around. But either way, it's very interesting to watch.
You just watch, yeah. Now, I think, yeah, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. Yeah, that's a very good point. Something to think about, actually. That's true. Something to think about. But I mean, would that be trying to still see how they grow, and how the local players kind of keep up with this? Because, like you said,
keep up with it, right? Yeah.
Because as you said, I mean, right now the local players are probably fine. It's not really a competition. That setup cost is just way too high for most people. If I'm being honest, I mean, you're talking about like 400,000 naira in Nigeria, for example, 400,000 naira to set up Starlink, and that adds on to your monthly internet cost. That's double of what most people pay for unlimited. Because we both know unlimited or unlimited. At some point, we start slowing down if you don't use the like more. So. But it would be good to see how they kind of grow and expand over time. The good thing, like you said, or like I said already, is the fact that the way the technology is set up gives you more reliable internet, and kind of like these random dropouts. You don't have these random dropouts. I mean, there have been a few people that have kind of expressed random dropouts, even with Starlink, but they've been able to fix those problems, right?
Apparently, I'm not a Starlink user, but because technically, many people have the early adopters of Starlink in Nigeria were the big boys, guys that have money, so they're kind of flexing it. They've been like a social media thing to like almost flex and unboxing, you know. But now they've been.
But yeah, we have a few friends. I know a few people that were boxing. I know a few that were boxing.
Yeah, but now they've been a bit quiet, in my opinion, right? And I saw somebody tweeting about something that Starlink is glorified DSTV. The DSTV satellite dish, because when it rains, the network is bad. But that's not a verified opinion. I just saw that on social media, so that could be. But that was interesting feedback.
I'm dead. Well, yeah, I mean, we just want to try. I mean, because I know they'll keep expanding and growing, right? But just want to see how that goes over time. But okay, a couple of weeks ago, we kind of touched on loan sharks. We know them. We don't need to rehash their names again. But these loan sharks that are targeting different people. Actually, before I even say that, so actually let me digress. Loan sharks who were preying on citizens, getting all the information, targeting them, harassing them, doing that, giving them ridiculous terms when it comes to micro loans and here and there. But pretty much there was an update that was rolled out on this, I think a couple of weeks ago. Edosa, do you have more insight on this? What exactly happened? And I think there was also the whole thing of the social media banks. I mean, CBN requesting social media accounts to be required.
Yeah.
But I think that was
they backtracked on that or something.
Yeah, I think one of the courts actually said that that's not constitutional or something like that. They actually said that shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you want to shed more light on this whole thing?
Yeah. I think it's minor news. We just wanted to like give you guys an update because we promised to follow the news, right? I think we mentioned it 2 or 4 episodes ago. So just a small update on that is that the Consumer Protection Agency in Nigeria is just saying they have reached advanced discussions with some of the guys that they were, some of the sharks that they were going in on, and to provide feedback soon. So it was just a minor, but I was like, hey, okay, thankfully, it wasn't like, Nigeria, they announced, but nothing happened. So
Yeah.
it seems like something is going on here, and we'll just keep tracking it and keep you guys updated.
Yeah.
If you're a loan shark and you want to tell your side of the story, reach out to us.
Reach out to us.
Don't reach out to us, so you know this loan shark, not to reach out.
But if you want to share a story, let us know. We'll find a different way to get a story out there. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all we had. It's pretty much all we had for today. So yeah. Also, any plans for the rest of the weekend?
To try to rest, very
Plan.
important. Try to rest and not spend money. That's the combination.
Look at that. Yeah, the big boy now. Yeah, the big boy. One of these days, I'm bigger in the private jet, man.
See, my Austin sponsor is talking.
What are these? You need to come back to Austin.
Yeah. I mean, guys, so Squad may actually just putting this out there to kind of commit to it. Afrotech is coming up in November. So Squad may actually be doing some things that will keep you guys updated. I know Lagos Startup Week is happening right now. We didn't plan that in time, so we're not able to. We have some friends out there, but we didn't wanted to do something more, I guess, because of the time. But we'll keep tabs. Definitely next year, we'll see what we can do about that as well. We're just trying to be more engaging in different events across the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. But yeah, we'll keep you guys in touch with what goes on. Like I said, we're already committed to it, so there's no going back now. But ultimately, it's good to be back. It's good to see you again, my brother. But yeah, thanks everyone again for listening. If you have any comments, let us know. But in the meantime, y'all have a good weekend. Stay blessed. Stay healthy. See you same time next week.